Bert Seegers. He has 30 years of professional experience in strategy consulting, at interim management roles, data science, analytics, lived and worked across the globe in multiple industries. And 9 years ago, he has chosen to focus his attention on digital biomarkers. So he's one of the 3 owners of Orikami, recently, 9 years ago, healthcare company based in Nijmegen. Bert, are you there?
I am here, alive and kicking, Anita. Thank
Yay!
you. Well, the kicking part, we'll see about that. All right.
Okay, so I've asked the Dutch AI Coalition working group, Health and Care, who are your really interesting startups within your working group, and they said, hey, that is Orikami. So Bert now has a few minutes to pitch his company, and you have a few minutes to answer some questions as well. So take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Anita. Thank you for the introduction, by the way. Yeah, I have a few minutes to share a pretty big story, actually. But I will actually not pitch it in the sense of selling it to you, but just share what actually can be done and what is actually coming to you in the near future. All right. So Orikami is about medtech, medical technology. All right. And the use case, because that is in the end what it is all about, is really about supporting patients with a chronic disease to monitor and to measure themselves in a home setting. Right? The case is that really, if you have a chronic disease, whichever chronic disease it is, you will see your doctor or your clinician once a year for about 10 minutes or so. And that's about it. And you can live on for 20 years in the same rhythm without any major changes to that sequence, really. But actually, that's not good enough in our view, because typically you need to measure and to monitor yourselves much more frequently to be able to respond to changes in your disease pattern. So what we are doing and what we have been doing in the past 9 years is develop solutions for that. One example could be MS, an MS product. So if you have multiple sclerosis, typically you're diagnosed at a young age, young age, and you still have 30 years to go, right? But if you get the right support, you can improve your quality of life dramatically. Okay, so we have developed tests to measure yourself. Those tests are being run on your mobile phone. So in the end, you can call it an app, but it's not an app like that. It's a clinical test, right? With clinical relevance. You measure yourself and you share that data with your clinician. And either proactive or reactive, your clinician can respond to that. So it will support you in your journey, in your disease, right? So those measurements, those tests are called digital biomarkers. And what we do is we create those digital biomarkers and we validate those biomarkers, because one of the topics that came up before, this is not about technology, this is about value. And in our perspective, that is value for patients, value for clinicians, value for hospitals, etc., all the stakeholders in this chain. So we have developed a list of biomarkers, specific biomarkers like a mobility biomarker or a cognition biomarker, a fatigue biomarker. You can make different combinations for different disease patterns, right? Because not every indication is relevant for every disease pattern. MS, I gave it as an example. We have 3. It is a walking test, it is a cognition test, and it is the fatigue test. So those 3 together give a very strong correlation with disease progression. Okay. Now, that is the product that we are developing, and you can smell the AI component behind there, right? Because you need to relate those numbers to disease indications, right? That is what we do, and those products we build and we bring them to the market, and you will see these things being launched in the coming period. But we are launching already in Germany, and now together with the NLAIC coalition, we're looking at launching it in the Netherlands as well. I think, I mean, I can talk for 3 hours, but I don't think that's the idea, right?
No, we don't have the time. We have another very interesting startup. Right. Thank you, Bert. Are there any questions in the chat for Bert? Jamie? Or maybe it was a bit too fast. No,
that was too fast, I think. Yeah.
I do have a question.
All right.
Is there already some kind of collaboration? Because also Jasper shared, well, if you're in the healthcare sector, it's very hard maybe to share data, etc. Do you have a close relation with larger companies or hospitals at the moment? Or in the start?
There's I mean, in the medical industry, in the healthcare sector, if you like, there's a kind of a different setup than compared to hardcore industry. Okay, so yes, of course, for research purposes, for clinical studies, we have a number of universities, academic centers that we work with, and you choose them per disease area. For instance, in Amsterdam, VU is there. VU is actually, you might not know this, but is world famous for their MS department, right? So we team with them. Same thing for Parkinson. Radboud University in the Netherlands is world famous for that, for instance. So we team with them.
And seeing this audience, well, you don't know who's behind all the circles, but what would be your call? What would be your ask? What do you need?
Well, what I need, but that's not particularly addressed to one person in particular, is the Netherlands to rethink their strategy about digital solutions and how to allow organizations like ourselves to bring it to the market. Because the big pitfall that we have is that we have an enormous amount of companies doing all kinds of great and cool stuff. But most of it actually stops or somehow finds an end involuntarily because it cannot be launched in real life. And in my language, in my world, it means you can do a clinical study, but you can never go to clinical practice.
Yeah.
Right? And that is, it's the same process as getting drugs or medicine approved, right? It's the same process. And that is, in the Netherlands,
something we can solve here.
No, I know that, but
maybe there are people. I've also gave you some introductions that could help you with this.
That would be great. That would be great.
Thank you for your introduction, Bert.
Thank you.
I would now like to introduce Jakub Zavrel. I don't know if I pronounce it right, actually. He's the founder. He's a technologist. He's an entrepreneur. Building new and long-lasting global AI companies with a very ambitious goal is what he loves to do. And he will now tell us all about his new baby, his very recently launched startup, Zeta Alpha. Jakub, are you there?
Anita, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, great.
Thank you so much. I'll keep it short because we're already over time. So let me briefly share my screen with you guys. So I've been in the AI field for close to 30 years now. And can you see my screen?
Yeah.
And it's a very exciting time, mainly because AI is really being adopted in large corporates. There are many startups in AI, but also because of the tremendous acceleration of the technology. But it's also all these AI teams in corporates and in startups and in academia, they're starting to deal with a huge problem. And with my new venture, Zeta Alpha, I've embarked on a mission to actually solve that using AI technology. So basically using AI search technology and modern natural language understanding to prevent data science teams from growing crazy by information overload or taking risks into not being up to date and betting on the wrong technology. So AI is an interesting field in that it's kind of flourishing and exploding outside of the traditional publishing world. So actually, a lot of the high quality AI research is being published on a preprint service called Archive. And Already this year, we have in September more than 30,000 publications there, which are high quality AI papers that over 1 million people in the world kind of need to keep up with to know what's the latest and greatest. So that's 100 or more papers per day that these millions of people need to be watching to stay up to date. So obviously there's existing solutions like academic search engines, but they're very old school and they have no focus on AI. So our ambition with Zeta Alpha is to really use the latest and greatest in neural network-based language understanding and search technology to allow AI researchers to use their own medicine, so to say, to understand the progress in their own field, both by giving them the right papers, but also giving them specific answers to questions and summaries and overviews of an entire field. So we've built this tool called AI Research Navigator, which basically is doing all the reading with the latest neural network technologies and presents it to you in a platform to organize your work in projects and keep you up to date around topics that you're interested in. So this is a brief glimpse of the tool. It's a search engine where once you start searching, you define things that are interesting, you start tagging them, and by that, you are allowing the intelligence behind the platform to actually start knowing you and start keeping you up to date and filtering new information that comes in daily around the topics that you are interested in. So basically, all you need to do is tag papers that you are interested in, and these will lead to recommendations so that you no longer need what I did before I had this tool, actually print out everything and sort it on your desk or read hundreds of archive titles and abstract every day. You can be that person who is up to date and shares the latest and greatest with your colleagues.
So who wouldn't want that?
The tool is available. We have a bunch of cool features, more to be developed, and we'd be happy to get in touch with AI startups and AI teams in corporates to receive the benefits of it.
Thank you, Jakub. Are there questions in the chat, Jamie?
No questions.
No questions. Well, my question would be, what's the business model?
So it's a subscription-based service, similar to tools like Slack or Trello. It's basically a productivity tool on top of information, which you can already access today, but which takes you too much time. And in the future, also indexing your own private information. So it's a subscription model.
Super. Okay. Well, this actually is about it. I hope you've enjoyed it and learned a lot today. Thank you all for attending this panel discussion. As I said, at 3:30, there's another one, a very interesting one. So, well, hope to see you then. Bye-bye.